What would it be like to control all the oil in the world? Imagine the money, the power, the slipperiness. Well, Paradox Interactive's Hearts of Iron 4 lets you do just that. For viewers who have friends, HOI4 is a World War II sandbox game that lets you take total control of any country. You want Chile to be really long? No problem. You want Czechoslovakia to be even longer? Go ahead. You want to make Norway the longest? Then something must be wrong with you. Please get professional help. If you're smart enough to read, you know we're playing as the US today. But we're not just doing any old US game. We're going to take control of every province that has even one drop of oil in it. Now, since the US is a democratic nation, it can't just declare war on others all willy-nilly billy-silly. So what you'd normally want to do is turn fascist or communist, since that would make expansion much easier. However, I believe in American freedom and democracy, so instead we'll be staying democratic. For the time being. By the way, I'm using the Road to 56 mod so the game is a bit more interesting. Okay. Our story begins with good old Mr. 10 Cents. He's still trying to make America less depressed. I would personally recommend going outside and spending more time with family and friends, but apparently the only way to fix it here is with economic policies. However, to enact those and fix the country, we need the support of Congress, who currently doesn't like me. I love democracy. So let's start lobbying. While that was going on, I decided to take a look at some possible paths we could take to achieve our goal of global oil domination. As I mentioned earlier, our options as a democratic country are really limited, but I determined this path to be the best. It gives us a ton of war goals on other countries while staying democratic. The only issue is we need to keep fascist support over 40% for some focuses, but if it goes over 50%, we might trigger a civil war. So we need to make sure to walk a fine line between those two. Also, I need FDR to lose the election to be able to go down that path, so I let Alf Landon win instead. Next, I decided to reorganize the military. Since we've got the potential to build a ton of factories in our vast country, it's best if we build our divisions around artillery, which requires a lot of said factories. Allow me to introduce the division. It's got 2 state-of-the-art artillery battalions and an extra one for support. No one would be able to withstand our downpour of shells. Meanwhile, the entire rest of the world was engulfed by civil war. Japan, Peru, Spain, Mexico, the Congo, Indonesia, everyone was having some kind of issue. The most relevant to us, though, was France, who somehow managed to peacefully convert to communism and join the Soviet faction. That meant if someone like Germany decided to attack one of them, they'd also have to deal with their wife. But that also applied to us if we decided to take Soviet oil. Good thing there was no war going on in Europe. Never mind. So Germany decided to invade Poland and all the Nordic countries simultaneously. How smart. And whoopsie, looks like the UK didn't like that, so they made an alliance with Poland. Now is our time to join the fight and bring democracy back to Europe. After waiting for the game to let me join the alliance, since, remember, I'm a democracy, I was finally able to join the allies and send my little swimmers across the Atlantic. While they were floating along the Gulf Stream, Japan and China began fighting and joined the Nordics and Communists, respectively. That led to the beginning of a 3-way in Scandinavia. Once my artillerymen arrived in London, I decided to send most of my troops to Poland, because I love Poland. Let's give it up for Poland, guys. Anyways, there was also a little front in Nazi Belgium after the British landed on their shores, so I sent a few dudes there. While we made some progress in the east, it turned into a bit of a stalemate. Luckily for us though, a war broke out in the Alps. For some reason, neutral Switzerland decided to attack Austria. I guess Heidi wanted some more friends. And she decided to befriend this guy. Interesting. That somehow led Austria to join the commies instead of us, despite them not even being communist. But I couldn't really complain, since that little kerfuffle meant France joining the war and tripling the size of Germany's Western Front. That pretty much spelled the end for Germany and let us race to Berlin. With them out of the way, we only needed to fight through the Alps, which was easier said than done. What's that? Another presidential election? I think we need Frankie back. And with a new president comes new plans. Since it'll likely take decades for our flatland trained divisions to make it through the mountainous Alps, I came up with a completely original plan. I would send a naval invasion into Italy from the south. Thanks to France giving us access to its ports, I was able to launch an invasion from Algiers straight into Naples. We made quick work of the single guy defending the port, severing the foot from the leg and racing to the thigh. After popping Italia, I thought the war would be over, but for some reason Switzerland was considered a major nation, so it wasn't over yet. I don't know how Switzerland is at the same level of the literal greatest nation to ever exist, but c'est la vie. It took a couple weeks, but the garter finally broke, allowing us to enter a peace deal. The commies and Japan being involved made things a bit of a mess. This is what the AI and I came up with. It might be good for historical playthroughs, but for what we just went through, not really. So after a bit of tinkering, this is the best I could come up with. Let me know how wrong I am in the comments. Now that that was over, it was time to go back to the drawing board. How much oil did we get from that war? 1 state. Technically also one in Italy, but I didn't realize that until later. So let's just stick with one. 1 state with oil is not all states with oil. If I wanted oil, I had to get oil. So I oiled my oil and oiled all over the place. I had to take out the big boys. And right now, the big boys were red. But if you want to take out a collective, you can't do it collectively. at least not at first. See, the commies and I divided basically all of Europe between each other, leading to a lot of borders shared between us, especially these two really big ones. For my fellow Americans, that's about 1,000 times the distance you need to drive to get from one McDonald's to the next. If I wanted to lose against them, I would spread out all my divisions along all the borders and let them beat me. But I had a genius plan. Fight them alone. HOI4 has this cool mechanic that allows you to call your allies to join you in a war, but if you don't press it, they never do. So as long as I don't call anyone else into my war, I could keep the front line to just Germany and concentrate all my firepower there. I couldn't really reach the Soviets if I did that, but as it turned out, they would be able to reach me. As a quick aside, there were several strange little things that occurred during my playthrough, which I didn't mention because they were kinda irrelevant. But I can't not talk about this one. Apparently, the UK and Irish somehow started a war which led to the latter joining the Nordics. For whatever reason, the UK must have left just one division to protect the North, which let Ireland eat up almost everything until France came and saved the King's Ishtar. Kinda embarrassing. But anyways, back to the Sack and Black Cadillac, I started my invasion. And it went pretty good, until the Soyuz boys decided it was a great idea to begin an invasion into Poland.
No, Poland, no. I'll keep you safe, I promise.
Luckily, I already had some troops along their border in case that happened. And luckily, my puppets weren't called in, because only I can do that. However, as my offensive stalled in the outskirts of Paris, the Polish front was forced to retreat in an attempt to fortify along a river. And the descendants of Charles decided to navally invade the north of Germany, since I stupidly forgot to put up some defenses along the ports. That meant I had to take some troops off the southern front and onto the northern. Somehow my guys still managed to take the French capital, but that front really screeched to a halt. At this point, I thought it was only right to call on my Diedushka, who quickly accepted the request. This gave us the troops we needed to squeeze out the little red dudes, and even let us push into Sweden's tip until we hit snow. Meanwhile in the east, things weren't looking too good. The Krasnaya Ruka was somehow managing to break our defenses despite our superior firepower, and the river between us. Looking back, I really had no other choice, but it felt so wrong.
I'm really sorry, Poland. I'm so sorry. I promise I'll be back. Please, I'm so sorry.
This was one of the saddest moments I've ever had in my tenure of gaming. Even sadder than when Chase McCain died at the end of Lego City Undercover. But I had to stay strong if I wanted to eventually rescue my friend. With a heavy heart, I ordered my troops along this narrow border behind another river. And don't worry, I made sure to still defend at least one Polish province. Also, I just want to address this really quick. I accidentally pressed a button a year earlier that would make Germany exist again, so now it kinda existed. I would have gotten rid of it, but I thought it would be useful to have another strong ally, so I let it be. Thinking back, it probably had a huge debuff to its military, so it wasn't even really worth it. Anyways, with the north and eastern border secured and a freshly baked 48 divisions, I was ready to focus on the real enemy at hand, France. But when I tried to launch another offensive, it didn't really work. It was so stagnant that this Spanish division decided it would rather do jumping jacks than try and fight. Only a miracle could break this stalemate now, and a miracle we got because China decided they were done allying with the wrong side. They signed a white peace with everyone and left all wars looking chonkier than ever, right before joining our faction. With them on our side, it meant we had a shit ton more troops, while the enemy had a shit ton less troops. That gave me an idea. We could just keep fighting through France, or we could fight through France and open a new offensive into Spain. That meant they would have to either remove defending troops from France to help Spain, making it easier for us to push through the top, or they'd keep their troops in France, letting us roll through Spain. What ended up happening was honestly a mix of both. France delegated some troops to Spain, but they didn't end up doing much, so we just rolled through the entire Western theater. Now it's basically just the SSSR versus us. And now they thought it would be a good time to propose making Germany neutral. What a great idea. Why didn't I think of that? Dumbass. What it was actually a good time for was liberating my poor Polish boy. There he is. And look at that, he somehow recreated the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. And a little bit after that, we easily took Moscow, Leningrad, and the rest. But then things began to stall again, and we were even pushed back in a few places. Also, please ignore the portraits. For some reason while I was recording this part, they looked like this. Someone must have messed with my computer. Unfortunately, the American Union basically ran out of all reserve men, meaning that for every casualty there was one less American at the front, which is also what it normally means, but you get what I'm saying. We needed another miracle, a miracle weapon, a miracle bomb even. For the past few years, I'd been secretly, without telling anyone, testing my leading scientists with the development of a theoretical bomb that would bring hell to Earth. A bomb so powerful it could even level entire cities. I know it sounds a bit outlandish, but look at this little guy, he had to be right. We'd already developed two, but needed a place to test them, and Stalin's new capital was the perfect testing ground. I sent my best pilots on the mission, and they didn't disappoint. With his body dissolved over the span of 3 milliseconds, Joseph held up a white flag. Once again, the piece deal the AI came up with looked like a bowl of Caesar salad, so I made it even worse. Just kidding, but please don't laugh at what I came up with, okay? You promise? Alright, here it is. It looks kinda strange, but it was the best I could come up with. I even changed the little guy's color so you knew who owned them. Hey, sorry for the sudden dip in quality, but I had to sell my other microphone because we were running out of funds. Anyways, at this point in the run, I was getting really hungry for some good old American KFC. My PC was getting hotter than that Patriot we dropped, so we'll have to continue this another day. By the way, Cass told me there's some new CK3 DLC releasing soon. Let's see what that's all about.